Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Matthew Sports Talk. Got a lot to get to today, but first, as my face obviously states, the Vikings. I didn't think there'd be a lower point to this season before this, but now we're at all-time low. They lost today 40-23 to the winless Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they're not winless anymore, but they were winless coming in. And yeah, wasn't really even felt like it was that close. Kirk Cousins threw 3 interceptions in the first half. Now, one I grant was tipped, so I can't so much blame him for that. But the other 2, he threw into coverage, and yeah, it's just, I don't know. So there's nothing really more to say, except for I think it's time that we blow it all up. I think sadly it's the time for Zimmer to go. I love Zimmer. I think he's a great coach, but I think he's behind the times, and I think the Vikings as a football organization have been way too defensively minded, or they've been defensively minded for way too long. I mean, we can take this all the way back to, before Zimmer you had Leslie Frazier, and then before that you had Childress, so I think it's just time for Zimmer to go. Yeah, sadly enough. Also, I think Spielman needs to go with him. He made a lot of gambles, one of which was Kirk Cousins, and long story short, it's not really paying off. So Spielman needs to go. And I mean, if you want to get out of having to deal with the rest of Kirk, gotta sit him for the remainder of the season and hope that the team just keeps on losing and gets somewhat into the position to get either Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields in the draft, which I still think is going to be a long shot. You might, by saying Kirk, you might be able to tank enough to get a top 10 pick, but that doesn't get you Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. So most likely Vikings will have to trade players to get draft picks and stuff like that. So yeah, I had optimism so much after last week's game against the Seahawks, in which we almost beat them, and then it's like a complete opposite of it's like the complete opposite this week. It's just, how do we go from almost being one of the best teams in the NFL to losing to one of the worst teams of the NFL? So I just don't get it. So moving on. But hey, you know what? One sec. You know what we do got to look forward to for any Minnesota football fans? We get to look forward to Gopher season, which I will talk about in a little bit. But still, we got some more NFL stuff to talk about. So, going through the games today, Titans and the Texans. The Texans were surprisingly almost had this game in the bag, but the Titans were able to slip out, and thanks to Derrick Henry being what he usually is, being an absolute beast, Titans pull away 42-36 in overtime to stay undefeated. Colts beat the Bengals 31-27. Bengals were up most of the game, so don't really know what happened to that one. A shocker and at Mile High. I think this was at Mile High. Oh no, it was in New England. Is that New England? Yeah, no. Denver Broncos beat the Patriots 18-12. So yeah, I'm sure the Patriots fans might be missing Tom Brady, maybe just a little bit. Giants get their first win of the season, being the Washington football team 20-19. Ravens hang on to beat the Philadelphia Eagles 30-28. Steelers decided to put a little whooping on today and beat the Browns 38-7. So obviously the Cleveland Browns are not ready to sit at the big boy table yet. So the Bears beat the Panthers 23-16. So yeah, Bears are on top of the NFC North. Who would have thought? So get more into that in a little bit. Lions beat the Jaguars 34-16. Big whoop. Dolphins blanked the Jets 24-0. Not surprising. Big whoop. Jets still the worst team in the NFL. Here was Buccaneers and the Packers. Buccaneers winning was not a really big shocker. Winning by 28 points, that's a shocker. Buccaneers beat the Packers 38-10. And a week ago I said the Packers were the best team in the NFL. Did I say that? Sorry, I did not mean that. I sincerely did not mean that, because obviously they are not the best team in the NFL. But see what happens when you finally pressure Aaron Rodgers? He sucks. Completed less than 50% of his passes. He was 16 for 35 for 160 yards and 2 interceptions, one of which was a pick six. And guess what? No touchdowns. No touchdowns. When's the last time Aaron Rodgers was not able to throw a freaking touchdown? I mean, heck, Kirk Cousins threw 3 interceptions, and he had a better day than Aaron Rodgers, because Kirk Cousins still threw for 3 touchdowns. So, and I do believe, sorry, let me go back to the Vikings game. Yeah, Kirk Cousins was 24 for 36 for 343 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Kirk Cousins, losing to the Falcons by throwing 3 interceptions, still had a better day than Aaron freaking Rodgers. So, that just makes me laugh. It just so makes me laugh. So yeah, I mean, I do apologize for saying the Packers were the best team in the NFL, because they clearly weren't. So there's definitely going to be a new number 1 in my power rankings, and I already have it named, so I will get to that later on. And then, the game that just wrapped up, the 49ers beat the Rams 24-16. Yeah, Rams played with their heads up their asses for most of the game. Offense was clearly not working, and yeah, 49ers, a little bit of a surprise there. So, and once again, we have 2 more games remaining, but it will be tomorrow night. We have a doubleheader, Monday Night Football doubleheader. I love it. We have the Chiefs and the Bills, which my man Mahomes will hopefully be balling, since clearly the Bills' defense has issues, and hopefully those issues continue. And then we have a actually pretty good game in the Arizona Cardinals against the Dallas Cowboys, even though Dak Prescott is out. I mean, you got Andy Dalton in there, so, I mean, hey, that could be a very interesting game. So, yeah, that's so far how Week 6 is going. So, obviously, there will be another episode of Matthew Sports Talk, either, I would say, late tomorrow night or early Tuesday, or maybe late Tuesday, I don't know. You know when I post it, okay? So, let's do a little fantasy football talk here. So, starting out, my first team, the Minneapolis Skull Squad, is currently up 88.6 to 74.5. I am obviously going to win that one, because I still have Mahomes, Chase Edmonds, and Tyreek Hill left to play. Well, the other guy only has Clyde Edwards-Helaire and George Zerline, I think is the name of the kicker for the... Oh, no, Greg Zerline. Highlights of that team, Chase Claypool, who I picked up in free agency. Obviously, he did not have the monster game that he had last week. He still got me 18.1 fantasy points, so I'm good with that. I like it. My man, Justin Jefferson, actually had a better week than my man, and I'm feeling. 9 receptions for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns, which equals 39.6 fantasy points. So thank you, Justin Jefferson. And then I picked up the New York Giants defense, which is probably going to be pretty temporarily. But I mean, they got me 13 fantasy points, so I mean, hey, a defense that gets you more than 10 points, you should be happy with that. And then Randy Bullock, the kicker for Cincinnati Bengals, got me 11 points. So yeah, a kicker that gets you more than 10 points, also something to be happy about. And I mean, I left a lot of points on the bench. My Deshaun Watson got 32 fantasy points, which I have him starting on my other team, the Minnesota Kings. I sat Keelan Cole Sr. on both teams, which might come back to haunt me because he had 20.3 fantasy points. Tim Patrick also had 14.1 fantasy points. So. And then over on my Minnesota Kings team, I said start. I'm currently leading 100-96, but I will probably lose that game since the other guy still has Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Harrison Butker left playing. Excuse me. And yeah, I mean, I highlight Chase Claypool on New York Giants defense, obviously. I got on that one. Thielen showed up a little bit late. Still got 14.1 fantasy points. So, Myles Gaskin, 16.6 fantasy points. And as I mentioned, Deshaun Watson, 32 fantasy points. Yeah, thanks a lot, Rex Burkhead, 1.1 fantasy points. I'll be either dropping your ass or benching you. Cooper Kupp, 4.1 fantasy points. What the hell? I mean, granted, Cooper did drop a few balls tonight against the 49ers, one of which would have been a touchdown. So, thanks a lot, Cooper. Jonnu Smith. What the hell, Jonnu Smith? You go from having a 20-point fantasy game to having just 2? Now, granted, he did get injured, but that was not until later in the game. So I'm like, what the hell? And Jake Elliott, the kicker for the Philadelphia Eagles. Yep, I'll be dumping your ass. -1 fantasy points. So, yeah. So that's a little bit of my fantasy football spiel. So now we got the power rankings, which I have partially completed, so I will go through what I have completed. And it's pretty much all the teams under 20 and the new number 1. So, staying at number 32 should be the obvious at this point, the New York Jets. At number 31, down from number 28, is the Jaguars. Yeah, you get beat by the Detroit Lions by that much. I feel sorry for you. At number 30, down from number 27, it's the Washington football team. At number 29, up from number 31 after their first win, is the Atlanta Falcons. At number 28, down from number 26, is the Cincinnati Bengals. At number 27, up from number 30 after their first win, the New York Giants. At number 26, down from number 23, is the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 25, up from number 29, is the Detroit Lions. At number 24, staying there on their bye week, I felt like I didn't really need to move them, is the Los Angeles Chargers. At number 23, down from number 21, is the Minnesota Vikings. At number 22, staying put, even though they did lose, is the Houston Texans, and this is because I think the Texans played really well against the Titans, so that's why I think they stayed pat. And number 21, up from number 25, is the Denver Broncos after beating the Patriots. So, Obviously, there's still a lot. I mean, there's going to be teams that are going to be bumping down. Patriots are going to come down from number 15. Panthers coming down from number 13. Browns and Rams are coming down from number 8 and number 7, respectively. So yeah. Oh, and the Packers are going to come down from number 1, obviously. So it all depends on what happens tomorrow night. Depends on how much they come down from number 1. So speaking of which, the new number 1 team, I feel like, after careful consideration, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they've, looking through all the games that they played, I think they've played the most solid overall football. And obviously, being the Browns today, 38-7 shows that, they can cool off a hot red team like the Browns. We're not red hot anymore. So, I'll probably go into a little bit more detail in my next episode. So, stay tuned for that. Only really other thing left to talk about is some playoff baseball. Both the ALCS and the NLCS have wrapped up since my last episode. The Rays won the ALCS in 7 games, which, thank God. If the Rays blew that, I'll be like, absolutely fail move by, or absolutely failure by the Tampa Bay Rays. But they played well and they managed to win, so great to them. And then a game that also just wrapped up a little bit ago, the Dodgers beat the Braves 4-3. So it's going to be the Dodgers and the Rays in the World Series. Now, I personally think I would like to see the Rays win the World Series because we never see the Rays in the World Series, or we hardly see the Rays in the World Series. But if the Dodgers win, I won't smirk because it's been so long for the Dodgers. They've been in so many World Series lately and just haven't been able to win one. The last time that they did win one was in 1988. So yeah, definitely we'll stay tuned to that and keep on watching and see what happens in that, because who doesn't love World Series baseball? So, wow, this is a lot shorter than I thought it would be. What else could I talk about? Well, okay, so maybe go a little bit more in depth of the Vikings right now. So they're going into their bye week, and then they come out and they play. I'm just gonna pull up their schedule really quick. They have 3 straight games against the NFC North. They are at the Packers. They are, I believe, they're at home against Detroit, and then they're at Chicago. If they manage to win one of those 3 games, I guess that's somewhat good news. Most likely that one win, if it does happen, will be against Detroit. Because just basing off of what happened today, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 6 more games remaining against teams with winning records. So, if you say those are 6 losses, that puts you at 1-11. If you win the other ones, then that's 5-11. And even that, it might get you a top 10 pick, but won't get you Fields or Lawrence unless you trade up. So, it's a tricky situation. I mean, you have a bye week, so you have a little bit more time to think about things, about where you're at. I would not be surprised if they do fire Simmer and fire Spielman. Then again, I will be a little bit surprised if they don't. Maybe what will happen is they'll see what happens the remainder of the season and then decide after the season is done. But I think if I was Ziggy Wilf, I'd start looking for your next head coach, and I want somebody offensive minded. My top candidate would be the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, Eric Bieniemy. And then I had a lengthy discussion with my brother about this, about trying to get a mobile quarterback, because that's is where it seems the league is heading. And he made the case that we should try to trade for Sam Darnold. I was against it because I feel like until you see Sam Darnold away from the Jets organization and away from Adam Gase, it would be too much of a risk. I would think it'd be even more of a gamble than getting Kirk Cousins was. I would say maybe try to pursue someone like Jameis Winston or Tyrod Taylor. Maybe even see if you can try to finagle the Eagles and get trying to finagle the Eagles to see if you can get Jalen Hurts, but that's probably a long shot. So yeah, it's a tricky situation for the Vikings. Quite frankly, it's saddening. I had a lot of rum and cokes today, so that kind of tells you how the game went. So yeah, I guess I'll wrap up this episode of Matthew Sports Talk. And feel free to leave comments. I'd be happy to respond to them with my own opinions and stuff like that. I really like feedback, so feel free to leave feedback because I definitely would like to know how to improve these episodes. So, until next time, this is Matthew signing off.